Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a Vendread deck profile. So I'm really excited to do Vendreads because it is the only ritual-based zombie deck in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So it's extremely unique and really cool. It's actually based off of Resident Evil, which is really cool because they just announced Resident Evil 3, which I definitely will be playing. But without further ado guys, let's get straight into this. Before we do guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and let's get straight into this. But before we do, I really quickly want to mention you guys, we do have a Patreon and a Ko-Fi down in the description, guys. So if you guys would like to donate to the channel, any donations are extremely appreciated, and they all go towards the channel, which I am extremely proud to say. So let's get straight on into this, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Vendread Slayer. So Vendread Slayer is like the boss monster of the deck. I know it doesn't look like much, it's just a 2400 beat stick, but it actually is a really good card that you can only ritual summon this card with a Vendread ritual spell, and then once per battle, if this card battles an opponent's monster during damage calculation, you can banish a zombie monster in graveyard, and this card gains 300 attack. If this ritual summon card is sent to the graveyard, you can add a ritual spell from your deck to your hand, and if you do, send a Vendread card from your deck to the graveyard. Now, the really cool thing about Vendreads is all of your Vendread monsters that are main deck monsters give your other Vendreads special boost powers, kind of like how Blackluster Soldier does with the 2 mini knights as well. Then we play 1 copy of Vendread Executor. Vendread Executor is the biggest monster in the main deck at 3,000 attack points, but it's still a really good card because what it does is you can ritual summon this card with any Vendread ritual spell, and this card's name becomes Vendread Slayer while on the field. And then when this ritual summon card is on the field, your opponent cannot target it with cards or cannot target cards you control with card effects except this card. If this ritual summon card is destroyed by battle or destroyed by an opponent's card effect while in its owner's monster zone, you can add a Vendread card from your deck to your hand, which is pretty cool that it lets you add from deck to hand. But it comes out at 3,000. That's about all it does, which is it's good, but I really like Vendread Slayer a little bit better. 2 copies of Vendread Battlelord. Battlelord's the best one of them all. I don't play Chimera. I don't think Chimera is that great. You can ritual summon this card with any Vendread ritual spell, and then you can banish a Vendread card from your graveyard and declare a card type, monster, spell, or trap. And then for the rest of the turn, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects of that type. So you can either pick monster, spells, or trap, and it's basically like Shockmaster, where they can't activate any of that particular type for the rest of the turn. And if this ritual summon card is sent to the graveyard, you get to add a Vendread, or add a ritual monster from your deck or your hand, or deck to your hand, and then if you do, send a Vendread monster from your deck to the graveyard. Pretty good effect, really good effect. I really like Battlelord out of them all the best. I feel like Battlelord is the unsung boss monster of the entire deck, but that's just me. Then we play a single copy of Vendread Revenant. Revenant is if this card in your possession is destroyed by battle or by card effect into a graveyard, you can special summon it but banish it when it leaves the field. And the Vendread ritual monster that uses this as materials gets the following effect. Once per turn, quick effect, you can special summon a monster from your opponent's control, or you can target a special summon monster opponent controls and banish it, which is really cool to be able to banish a card on principle. Like, this is how your Vendread Slayer gets really good, is because you just use these to actually give you particular boosts. Hound Horde is a really good card that once per turn, quick effect, you can target spell or trap card your opponent controls and banish it. And if it's in your graveyard, or if this card in your graveyard, you can discard a Vendread card to special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. So it just keeps bringing itself back, which is really nice as well. Striggans is really good too. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can reveal a Vendread card in your hand and then special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. And after damage calculation, if this card battled an opponent's monster, you can draw a card and then discard a card, which is cool as well, that it gives a ritual monster that kind of buff, which is cool. And then I just play a single copy of Vendread Core. Vendread Core is interesting because if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish another zombie monster from your graveyard and then special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. And then your opponent cannot target this card with card effects if it used for a ritual summon, which is another really cool effect. Then we play a single copy of Gozuki just to send our Vendreads to the graveyard, or our Mizukis to the graveyard to get us additional plays. And plus, if it's in the graveyard, if it's sent to the graveyard, you get to banish a zombie monster from your graveyard other than it to special summon a zombie monster from your hand, which is nice. 2 copies of Mizuki you can banish from your graveyard to special summon a zombie monster from your graveyard. 3 copies of Unizombie. It lets you send zombie monsters from your deck to the graveyard or hand to the graveyard to increase a zombie monster on your side of the field by target any monster on the field and increases level by 1, which is kind of cool as well. 2 copies of Shiranui Solitaire. I just play 2 in here because I don't want to waste my normal summon. I mean, I've got Gozuki already to send to graveyard, so Shiranui Solitaire at 2 is fine. You could flip it and play 2 Unizombies and 2 Solitaires if you want to. Either or works. It doesn't really matter. As long as you have 5 ways to get to Unizombie, you're totally fine. And then finally, we play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is really good in here because you're trying to make it so your opponent can't do all that much against your, Shiranuis, or not Shiranuis, but your Vendreads, which is really important to be able to have Ash Blossom here. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Call by the Grave, because Call by the Grave is really good in this deck, because you just don't want to let your opponent hand trap you ever, because you're going to be sending stuff to the graveyard, and they're going to banish stuff, or attempt to banish stuff, or with like different hand traps, or hit your monsters with hand traps to stop them with like Effect Veilers, or Ash Blossoms, or stuff like that, and you want to stop that with your Call by the Graves. 3 copies of Super Polymerization. This card comes in super clutch to make other boss monsters like Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, and even Dragon Necro Nether Soul Dragon, if you can make it, if your opponent has a zombie monster on the field, which sometimes happens. 1 copy of Dragon's Mirror. Dragon's Mirror is another way to get into our Dragon Necro Nether Soul Dragon, which is a really good boss monster. I highly recommend that if you don't play the Zombie World engine, definitely play Dragon's Mirror as a one-of, because then you can just banish 2 zombies from your graveyard and immediately go for Dragon Necro Nether Soul, which is really cool. I play a single copy of Vendread Charge. Vendread Charge is really good because it lets you send a zombie monster from your hand or face from your field to the graveyard to special summon a Vendread monster from your deck, which is going to be usually one of our little Vendread monsters, which is good, but it's not all at once. Then we play 3 copies of Revendread Origin. Revendread Origin is really good in this deck because basically what this does is it lets you ritual summon any Vendread ritual monster from your hand or graveyard, and then you must tribute monsters from your hand or face it from your field. Or banish zombie monsters from your graveyard whose original levels equal or exceed the level of the ritual monster you ritual summon. And if Revendread Slayers you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead, which is really good. I really like that effect about this. It's really a good card. I play 2 copies of Revendread Evolution. Revendread Evolution is good, but I really don't like the last part of it. You can use this card to ritual summon any Vendread ritual monster from your hand or graveyard, and you must tribute monsters from your hand or field, and rescind 1 Vendread monster from your deck to the graveyard, whose total level equal or the level of the ritual monster you're ritual summoning, and then the ritual monster is destroyed during the end phase, which sucks that it's destroyed during the end phase, but that's why we play 2 Battle Lords, is because Battle Lord just instantly stops that. Now, something interesting I will mention to you guys in just a second. We do play 3 copies of Pre-Prep of Rites because we're usually going for the smaller Vendread Slayer, and so it's under level 7. The only one that you can't search is Executor, which is not that big of a deal, but you get to add a level 7 or lower ritual monster from your deck to your hand, and then add a ritual spell from your graveyard to your hand, which is really nice. And then we play 3 copies of Pre-Prep of Rites. Pre-Prep of Rites is good in here because with Revendread Origins, it actually lets us search Vendread Slayer because it does specifically mention each other, I believe, and so you can search each other, which is nice, which is really, really cool. I mean, I really like that ability. It just says, like, the way that this is worded is you get to add a ritual spell from your deck to your hand and a ritual monster from your deck to hand whose name is listed on the ritual spell. And Revendread Slayer is actually listed on this, but none of the other ones are listed. Like, he's on the last line right there. If Revendread Slayers you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect. So you can actually add off of that the Vendread Slayer, but you can't add Battle Lord, you can't add Executor, you can't add any of them except for Slayer off of the Pre-Prep of Rites. So that's why it's the boss monster of the deck. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 1 copy of Vendread Slayer. Vendread Slayer is a really good card in this deck because it lets you either target a Vendread card in your graveyard and add it to your hand, or it lets you, during damage calc, send a zombie from your deck to your graveyard. and then target a monster that this card's battling, and then reduce its attack times 200 the level of the monster it's battling. So you can reduce it all the way up to 1600 if you send Executor or something like that. One copy of Vampire Sucker goes in every single zombie deck ever. One copy of Cerberus, a copy of Phoenix, and a copy of Unicorn. One so we can pop monsters, one so we can pop spells and traps, and one so we can bounce monsters as well. And a copy of Boral Sword just to kind of OTK our opponent. It's just there to OTK. I play number 60, Timeless. This card is a good extender. It's one of the best extenders in the entire game. Basically, it lets you skip your draw phase to draw 2 and then discard a card. Skip your main phase, special summon a monster from your graveyard in defense position. Or skip your battle phase, and if you do, you get to double attack one monster you control, which helps us OTK a little bit by boosting up our Vendread monsters just a little bit. One copy of Shiranui, Shogun Saga. You can make it with your copy of... You can make it with Unizombie and some stuff like that. And you can banish a zombie monster from your graveyard and increase its attack by this amount. So if you have like Executor in the graveyard, you can synchro this and bring it out at 6,000, which is pretty neat. Beals is here because you can make Beals extremely easily. Borreload Savage because you play so many Link monsters in here and it synchros in this deck. Cyframe Lord Omega because you synchro in every zombie deck needs to play Cyframe Lord Omega if you can make it. One copy of Black Rose. Black Rose is really good because you can blow for board. One copy of Dragon Necro Nethersoul. Dragon Necro Nethersoul is really clutch in this deck because you can make it with Dragon's Mirror, or if you're playing a mirror match of anything zombies, you can bring it out with Super Poly, which is neat. Starting Venom Fusion Dragon is another really good card in here because you can make it and OTK your opponent extremely easily with this card. And then one copy of Mud Dragon because all three of these are technically Super Poly targets, which is kind of cool, but these two are the ones you're going to mainly make with Super Poly. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a super cool deck to play with Vendreads because Vendreads are just neat. Like, I really love the way that they play. I think that they're super cool. I think that they're really cool that they're based off of Resident Evil, and they're just neat. Like, they're really, really neat, and I really highly recommend that you guys play with them. And they're budget. They're extremely budget to play around with. I mean, the main core of the deck is probably like $30, $40, maybe. And then the extra deck stuff is kind of what you want to play, except for like Vendread Savior and Vampire Sucker. Like, the rest of it's up to you. Maybe a Beals, you need a Beals, but other than that, it's kind of up to you. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell on this so you can become part of the notification squad. Tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.